In 2008, you'll remember, it was probably one of the most significant recessions we've ever seen. It's certainly the biggest recession that I had ever lived in and lived through. And I can remember there was a day that I had this huge wake-up call. Now, I'll come back to that in a minute. In 2008 or so, when the recession really kind of hit Texas, we were somewhere around 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 years into recovery, and we were doing very well, but we weren't out of the woods. I mean, triggers, reminders, there was some carnage, if you will. There was some residue that if we weren't careful, it would come back. And I was living safe. Samantha was managing her own recovery, and we were doing pretty well. But there's nothing like financial pressure to squeeze you and reveal what's going on inside of you. And at this point, we had lost all of our money, all of our savings, mutual funds, all of that was gone. And I found myself with about enough money for the next month. And I'll never forget driving to this park with a lake and sitting there and making a couple of calls to food banks to see when they were open, when could I come, how did they work. I had never done this, I didn't know. So I made a couple calls, nobody answered, then I called and this one woman answered, and I won't lie to you, she was as rude as all get out. I mean, I was basically, my voice was cracking, I was just hopeless, and I was just asking her how it worked, and she was just rude, and I hit this point where it all hit me. And I don't know if you've had those moments, it just kind of swirls around you, and it was just like, boom. And I started crying on the phone with this woman, and she just went speechless. And I just apologized. Her tone changed, and she could tell, uh-oh, we've got someone real fragile here. And I remember I hung up on her crying. I threw the phone down in my car. I screamed and yelled. And then I hit this moment of real sobriety. And it was this realization of, wait a minute, hold on. And I've talked to you about these wait a minute, hold on moments before. But at this point, I had to reflect back and go, wait a minute, man. I've been here before. Like, yeah, it wasn't financial, it was marital. And we were on the brink of divorce and seeing my kids on the first, third, and fifth weekends. And I've been in a difficult place like this before. I've been in a worse place than this before. What am I doing? Why am I freaking out? There was nothing wrong with calling the food bank. It was, why was I having this mental breakdown in my car by a lake when, wait a minute, after all that I have been through, the miracles that I've seen, the fact that anybody in their right mind would have looked at Samantha and said, there's no way she will stay married to him, their marriage is over. And the fact that she stayed married to me, and we've been married 20 years, this June, by the way, the fact that she would do that is a miracle. And so here I am in this moment, and I had to look back and say, hold on, I have forgotten what I have come through. And it was a turning point that day. I mean, things changed within that week. I had some business roll in, and I'll tell you, it was really mind-blowing to see how we came out of it. Now, for many of you, you say, well, that's great. How does that relate? I want to tell you this, that right now, for you, you probably are having that moment by the lake where this is the darkest, most psychotic, most chaotic, hopeless time you've ever had in your life. But you can't quit, because I will tell you, in that moment that I had at the lake, I started to remember all that I had come through, and I found the strength and the hope to keep going. And I'll tell you, things have been phenomenal since that moment. I mean, we're not making a ton of money, let me just be honest with you, but our marriage, our finances, our family, we are so strong right now. And when I tell my story to people, they marvel. I mean, I'm doing this in front of however many people each week or each day. I mean, people listen because I have been where they have been, and sometimes even worse. And you right now are building your story. You right now are developing the grit, the resilience, the strength, the power, the passion, the endurance to one day, years from now, look back and say, well, let me tell you how I got through what I got through. You're developing tools right now that you're going to need years, maybe even decades from now. You are developing the grit that you need, that you're going to be able to communicate to other people how you made it through to the other side of the darkest time of your entire life. There's a lot going on right now. And I talk to many of you that are struggling, that are hopeless, that are overwhelmed. Man, I get it. I absolutely get it. But you're going to come out on the other side, and the tools that you're learning right now in this season, however long it takes, you're learning some vital life principles that unfortunately, there's going to be other tough times in your life. It might be 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know. But further down the road, you're going to have more troubles. Maybe not in your marriage, hopefully not in your marriage, but in life, in finances, in child rearing, in changing jobs, I don't know. But I just know that more trouble will come. It's just a fact of life. And what you learn now, you're going to use then. The testimony that you're building right now, the survival story that you're building right now, you're going to use down the road. You may hit that point in the lake. I hope that you don't, but you might hit that point in the lake right there saying, wait a minute. I came through one of the most darkest times of my entire life. I went through what felt like an ocean. I'm not going to drown in 3 feet of water. You're going through what seems like an ocean right now. For those of you that are believers, I believe God can part that ocean for you and bring you through to the other side. If you're not a believer, I don't think that you have to drown. I think that there's a way through this ocean. I really do. But you can't quit now because you're building the testimony that's going to carry you years and years down the road. That's what trauma can do. That's what crisis can do, is it can reveal just how much stronger than you think you are.